Chapter 179. You trapped me. You lied. How could you? I scream. I shove Sinead, torn as I am by anger and betrayal. After everything we have done for each other, he traps me? Too late do I realize that my strength should have caved his chest in, but Sinead merely turns aside to soften the blow and backs up a few steps. He closes his eyes, in shame or resignation I do not know. So I shove him again. I wish I had the strength to kill him here and now, but I am more heartbroken than outraged. Perhaps rage will come later, when I do not feel as empty as a gored carcass, and twice as ridiculous. All of this for that. I did not state a falsehood, he dares claim. No? No? You said this would benefit me. You trapped me here, away from my friends. You cut off the bridge back, and this is supposed to benefit me? Please tell me the gate is still active somehow, tell me my friends are not dying as we speak. The path is closed. Fuck you, Sinead, I trusted you, I loved you. You. Why? Why? I shake him and see his face twist in guilt, but there is something beneath that rises and I feel monstrous heat under my fingers. Suddenly, he grabs my shoulder with more strength than I would expect from a lord, perhaps as much strength as Jarek, and the gold of his hair turns incandescent. Tears run down his cheeks. Really? Really? I should be the one crying right now. Because you are going to die. He screams with more pain than I ever heard from him. The naked emotions do not erase his actions, but they do grant him a moment of respite before I disembowel him where he stands. You'd better have a damn good explanation and a good plan to get me home, or I swear I'll... I have both, he interrupts with a grumble. The shameless twat, of course I had both before I dragged you here. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. You were so very young, sometimes. Too stubborn and hopeful to see the plain truth. Semiramis may ascend or not, but even if she succeeds, she will not kill her son. How can you be so sure? Because I talked to her. You. What? She had needed knowledge, and Savea knows more than most. The selfish bitch could attempt to assassinate her spawn, but she has not, and she will not. You know this to be true. I make to protest, but a memory surges in my mind, that of the stone golem. It called Malakim the primary target, but called Nirari my son. She still has no intention of ending his life. Once the Babylonian perishes or succeeds, Nirari will have free reign of this realm. You will write to war with your allies, your tricks and your artifacts, and you will die. You will use fire and metal and all those spells, your fencing techniques, and still, you will die. No dragon tooth, no sun magic will save you from him. Nirari is so above you that you cannot comprehend the gap in power. He will sacrifice you on the altar of his ascension, you and all those he cannot turn to his cause in one glorious slaughter to the glory of his reign. You have no chance unless you can obtain what can only be found here, what he has denied all of his kin. Dragon blood, I whisper. You want me to get dragon blood? You think this will give me a chance? I ponder his words in silence. All of this for... And yet it makes sense, in a way. The resources of the Lycian world are fabulous as well as beyond his reach, for now. Here, I can become more powerful than he ever expected, perhaps powerful enough to stand against him in single combat. It all depends on whether or not Sinead can deliver on his tall promise. You really think we can kill one? I ask. The question surprises Sinead, who smiles bitterly and a little condescendingly as well. You cannot kill a Fey-world dragon even if you prepare for 1,000 years, my dear Ariane. I am not exaggerating. Perhaps 10,000 years would be enough, but you do not have that long. There is, however, another path, a ritualistic hunt that will allow us to request the precious liquid as a prize. It will cost a significant portion of the goodwill we obtained, however. The plan is long, if simple. Let me start from the beginning. Sinead paces, radiating heat with every step. It feels extremely strange to see him like this. He is still the same Sinead, still scheming and planning, but where an average-sized man stood before, now he towers over me like a giant. More, he is now strong enough to block me where a humanized Sinead would struggle against the strongest humans. The contrast is jarring enough to distract me from my anger. Surveyor left for the blue court to align this sphere with yours and push the time dilation to its maximum. I frown. What do you mean? I ask. I shall not bore you with the complexity of it all, as I have myself only a vague understanding of time-weave magic. However, the speed of time is relative in the Lycian spheres, and especially so between one sphere and another. Time only ever moves forward, but not always at the same speed. So a day somewhere could be 2 elsewhere? Or a week, or more, and there comes the power of the Court of Blue. They have a measure of control over the speed of time, shall we say, and the less connected a world is and the more dilated time can be. Your Earth is only weakly connected to the world tree sphere, and thus we are confident we can slow down time on Earth relative to here. Surveyor estimated that we could achieve a ratio of 10,000 to 1. It will, however, cost us our greatest asset, the liberation and return of one of the 3 greatest geniuses the Court of Blue has ever seen. 10,000 for 1 is 1 second on Earth is 3 hours here. Surveyor should be implementing it right now. Her favorite uncle is in charge of the chronosolarium, and she has all the calculations. You are stretching my belief in you, Sinead. I did not break my promises, or you would know. We will challenge my brother Revas for his position in the succession line and use our challenger status to participate in this year's dragon hunt. Then, you will be ready to return home, which Surveyor can arrange. I'm sensing quite a few gaps in that plan. I will get into details later, but know I have a way to win the hunt. As for challenging the prince, it can be done easily and we do not even have to win. We are flush with favors, Ariane, hundreds of them across dozens of courts. I need only a fraction to move forward. We will get you the tools you need to survive. You seem confident that I will just follow you, Sinead. It annoys me quite a bit. His gaze drills into mine. His confidence is absolute. I am your best chance at going home. You know this and you care about those you left behind. You also know that dragon blood is your one chance of winning against your sire. I know you, Ariane. You are an idealist in your goals but a pragmatist in their realization. You will work with me, even if you hate me. I can live with this hatred, but I cannot live with your death. I am willing to pay that price. If you are so sure I will do all of this, and if you believe in the strength of your arguments, why the deception? I demand with all the venom of my anger. Would you have followed with all your allies locked in combat, fighting for their lives? I could have planned for it. You could have also decided that my plan was based on assumptions, which it is, and opted to stay rather than risk your life in the spheres. You could have moved back at the last moment out of fear for the life of a friend. There were many ways you could have prepared yourself against this trip, and the only hope I had to definitely catch you was to take you unawares. You were still flush with the ecstasy of battle. Let me be clear, there is not a single person left on Earth whose welfare matters to me more than one of your smiles. I will sacrifice every last one of them if it means that, in the end, you triumph. So you are claiming that you did it for me. I did it for us, yes. I believe it. There is no us, Sinead. There was never an us because you have never seen me as a partner. A partner does not look down upon their partner to the extent that they deny them that choice of a decision. If there are mistakes to be made, they are mine to make and you have no say in my final decision, no legitimacy in forcing me to choose between the immediate life of my friends or a potential victory at the end. From the beginning, you saw me as a person to be guided, not respected. Either you love me and treat me as an equal, or we are just allies of circumstances, because I will never let anyone decide for me again if I can help it. I will follow that damn plan of yours and get back home, but we are done. You betrayed me. It does not matter that you thought you knew better. You betrayed me and I do not grant my trust lightly. I do not have the words to express how gutted that leaves me. I said it before, I can live with your hatred but not with your death. I really believe my actions will benefit you in the end, he replies with finality. Really? I retort while the numbing grasp of despair finishes wrapping around my heart. Really? That kiss was for my benefit? Sinead freezes and looks like a rabbit caught in the glare of a gas lamp. His eyes swivel, looking for a metaphorical exit. I find the situation upsetting, he slowly enunciates, so upsetting that my wits seem to have deserted me. Try honesty for once. I knew you wouldn't let me after what I did. My punch caves his nose in and sends him crashing into a tree. Asterisk. The Fey world is powerfully alive, I have no better ways to express it. Its fabric is both dense and malleable, a perfect playground for those with the right key. I do not have it. A few steps into the world and the frost imprints I leave behind are pushed back into the armor with what feels like a huff. My aura of cold is still there, it is just not allowed to affect the world. I inspect my surroundings, more wary than amazed now that my status has fallen from visitor to exile. The emerald sky is alien, the dense forest hermetic and hostile. The gigantic tree in the background seems all the more imposing now that I had a second look. It is an old and gnarly thing so massive it should have collapsed under its own weight a million times, yet looking at it fills me with a sense of eternity, as if it predated mankind itself. It most likely does, at that. The line blurs and suddenly the tree is impossibly large, so large that it would dwarf Earth. It is the single most massive object in existence and the sky is but its breath, the light its blessing. We are only gnats on its antediluvian surface, there and gone like a flicker of light as it travels through eternity. I remember what the Watcher showed me in that brief instant when he opened my mind. Concepts so complex and absurd that everything I know is detrimental to their understanding. There is simply so much. Head hurts. Ugh. I look again to see that it has returned to being just a mountain-sized tree. For now. The scent of Sinead's blood travels to me and my teeth ache. I must kill him and make an example, let others know they cannot break my heart. What others? The squirrels. It is a matter of principle. It is a matter of feeling better. It is vindication. It is pointless. I need him to escape. I do not need him. I need him, but the very sight of him tears my heart apart. I feel so empty right now. My false soul is a sieve. No emotion will sway me for more than a second, before being replaced by an equally ephemeral pulse. I cannot even muster the energy to cry. Bursts of anger and bursts of sadness fight each other over the pit. I am experiencing powerful emotions that do not relate with the hunt with an intensity most immortals would envy, and they are so bad I would wish them upon Melusan. I must be the butt of some grand cosmic joke. I look up and seek the Watcher's gaze, but it is not here, or at least not yet. What have I ever done to? No, Ariane, better not explore this question. I sit on the ground to wait while the second greatest twit in history picks himself up. He grabs his nose and, with a dreadful snap, sets a cartilage I had believed to be powder now. Truly, his resilience has increased to impressive levels. Perhaps I should kick him in the unmentionables. Discarding ideas of further violence, I wait in my little circle of frosty grass while he ambles back. We must move quickly, he tells me with a nasal voice. The news of our deeds will be the talk of the spheres within the next 2 minutes, and 5 minutes later, my brother will send assassins. Ah yes, an important detail I forgot. I am no longer a deadly existence here. I need to know more about fighting Lycans here, I informed the scummy weasel in the most neutral way I can manage. While we move, yes. I follow after him, leaving the tree to our right and duking under a low branch. The forest of the Fey world swallows us in silence. It shines with all the colors of the rainbow from dusky crimson to shining blues as we run by. Flowers follow Sinead as if they were the sun while they shirk away from me. A strange scale beast glares at us with yellow eyes before disappearing behind a trunk. On Earth, There is a certain harshness to unmanaged force, a struggle for life reflected in every tiny sprout fighting to survive on a craggy slope. This merciless environment makes the fugacious beauty of life that much more valuable, for it is elusive and ephemeral. It must be seized and appreciated while it lasts, but here I am walking as if through a carefully curated garden. Every angle is enchanting and wonderful, or they would be if I were in the proper mindset. The trees are old and covered in moss, their barks showing strange patterns. The plants are varied and thriving, all of them, which should be impossible. There is a design pervading the very air, and yet it does not feel conscious so much as instinctive. The world feels fluid and heavy at the same time. We use roots and ancient, fallen branches to move across the crowded ground on our silent trip under the canopy. The leaves are thick over our head, and yet light still manages to get through, somehow, while bugs and petals radiate with inward light to keep the darkness at bay. Meanwhile, Sinead speaks in a voice that betrays little emotion. There are dozens of common, sapient races in the spheres, 100 billion individuals living and warring across their surfaces. While you vampires gain power by removing yourselves from the laws of a place, we harness it. The result is ostensibly the same, combat-wise. Those of us who can do so the most obtain ranks of nobility if they were not already born into it, through as many methods as there are courts. Let me be honest, I believe that only high nobility or princes can hope to prevail against you, but this is an oversimplification you cannot rely on. A blue court baron might succeed in trapping you into a time bubble, and then you would have been disabled as surely as if a blood court knight had pierced your heart. Combat is but one of many tools in the arsenals of those who seek power around here, so do not take anything for granted. Some of the methods we use for war might also surprise you. One of the assassins might try to sing you into submission. I could just sing back. And people will find out about your vulnerability to light or fire. The pecking order is much more fluid here than it would be back on Earth. Circumstances will crush you or allow you to defeat enemies far beyond your normal reach if you know how to harness them. Half of the game in Lycian politics is managing the circumstances. And the other half? Equal parts sex and warfare. I resist the urge to tell him I had the warfare part down pat and would let him handle the sex. I want to rise above snarky remarks and witty jabs, partly because I would like to get over my pain, and partly because Sinead would not react. He has already shown no interest in defending himself, physically or otherwise. It would be punching someone willing, and that makes it a kink, not a punishment. Or maybe a sacrifice. Ugh. I hate everything right now. We will recover some fruits and a branch first. It will allow us to get passage to a port city where I can get some work done, Sinead continues. Why get them? I thought we were flush with favors? And I would rather not waste one on something unnecessary. We can collect free assets and face the assassins outside of Acidina, the capital of this world, rather than meet them in the settlement and make the situation complicated. Two birds with one stone, to use an Earth idiom. Ah, here we are. We move out into a meadow, again under the strange ever-present emerald light. A single massive tree reigns over the surrounding grass. Without hesitation, the Prince of Summer walks to its monumental trunk to climb. He is quite agile. A real little chimpanzee. My mother showed me waypoint trees when I was a child, the prince explains. The wandering court loves and makes use of them. Ah, those seem quite ripe. He climbs down with a pair of fat, yellow-green balls. I can smell sweet, tender flesh from here, but the scavenger is not done yet. He knocks on the tree as if it were a door. We wait in silence. Nothing happens. Sinead grumbles, fiery hair fluttering in an unseen wind. He still wears expensive human clothes, I notice. They somehow expanded to fit his size and look much less rumpled than a garment that has been worn for 4 days should be. The Prince of Summer knocks again, this time with more insistence. Come on. He finally bellows. The trunk opens and spits a stick, which the Fae grabs before it can painfully smack into his chiseled jaw. The prince glares at the deceptively normal bark, mumbling something under his breath. He wisely decides not to complain out loud when he sees my glare, then proceeds to place his blood-soaked hand against the surface, leaving a red print that quickly fades. Good, now to get to the city. It will take us an hour. It will? I asked with disbelief. Yes. Every point of this plain is ever an hour away from the tree. If we run, we will stop shortly before the outskirts of Acidina. Why did we not do like the others and flee immediately? I asked with suspicion. Because we had to have this conversation, and it took some time for me to pick myself up from that tree. I am still a little weak. How concerned should I be? We have assassins on the way. With you by my side, we will be fine. My siblings have always underestimated me. They think me a dancer only. We can just dispose of them, yes? Oh, indeed. Although, as a general rule, I would advise you not to kill unless you are certain you are not triggering a chain reaction that ends with a king's favorite consort whispering words in their lover's ear. In this situation, it would be best to send a strong message. Please, kill them all. Can't I drain them dry then? I see no reason to waste perfectly valuable essence. I'll kill them thinking about you, I deadpan despite my earlier resolve. I fear that the taste may not match your expectations, he replies without missing a beat. A bit like expecting a centimillion and tasting a gristly tool, he continues. I give him a cold glare to make him know that his attempts at humor do not amuse me, and I see genuine hurt on his delicate traits before he can pull it back inside. I find it satisfying, but it is a hollow pleasure. Like taking someone else when falling to one's death. When you are done being a wine snob, perhaps you can help me prepare for the incoming battle. I coldly ask. You are as ready as can be with your armor and magic, Sinead replies offhandedly. Just be aware that winter magic would be weaker here, though not the weakest. Do not worry overmuch, Ariane. Not worrying overmuch is how vampires die to humans. The rest of the short race is spent in silence. I attempt to enjoy our little outing, in vain. My heart really is not in it. That unconscionable rake ruined my first foray into the world tree sphere even though I usually love forests. One more notch to add to my growing list of grudges. Finally, after jumping through a copse of trees whose roots and branches could not be told apart, we reach another clearing. This one is considerably larger than any we've been in before. It could host a festival, but not anytime soon because its current occupants may ruin the mood. Corpses? I ask, aghast. Before us, the remnants of a battle spread across the green grass undulating under a strong wind. Pennants and cloaks wave in a symphony of color that is reflected on the ground by the bodies of combatants. Armors come in hues of gray, brown, and green. Some weapons still shine with some unknown enchantments, and this variety is reinforced by the curious anatomies of some warriors. By our side, a man with 4 arms leans against a stump, his quattro of swords stained with blood and his chest pierced by arrows. The blood itself glitters crimson and shiny. I can smell it, and I can guess that it would be potent, except, it is not there. Not really. I get an impression like a painting reminding its spectators of past deeds. We are not treading the site of a recent massacre. This is a memorial, I realize. The succession battle. Trebillan fell here. He must have been favored by the world tree because the field has been conserved as is for the past millennia. We will wait and fight. Pay tribute with the blood we shed today. I walk a bit to inspect the site, curious despite my reservations. I find a slice through the ground with melted glass on its surface. The temperature must have been hellish, and yet the grass around it is barely scorched. Come to think of it, Sinead's bulk should have broken the tree I sent him against. Perhaps this place is harder to damage. I do not mind, because the people are not. Fallen warriors litter the ground, still clutching their weapons, expressions frozen in displays of rage, regret, terror. There are quite a few women, I notice. They were offered no more quarter than their male counterparts. I even spot a girl with snake hair clutching a dreadful gash in her chest, her hands still frozen around bandages and a poultice. The Lycians are not merciful races. I must remember that. Finally, Sinead stands from the spot he had picked and I join his side. We do not move. A trio emerges from the tree. The lead woman holds an orb with a single drop of blood in its midst. She has golden, reddish hair that reminds me of Sinead's, but her traits are thinner and she wears a hard, cruel expression. Her smile widens to reveal pointy teeth and she grabs the handle of a thin sword by her side. The second is a man covered in armor seemingly made of bark and transparent stone. His skin has the color of the earth and he looks at me with large, colorful eyes with no white and no iris, just an amber sphere around the dark dot. His expression feels strangely vacant. The last person is also a woman in a dress holding a wreath of all things. She is taller than the others and wears blonde hair the same color as mine. Her black eyes survey the area with concern. She is the only one to display signs of concern. The prodigal son has returned. The leading woman exclaims. Welcome back, Prince Sinead of the Court of Summer. Welcome back. She gives us a mocking bow. She speaks adult Lycian, but the gap between the two languages is extremely small in everyday conversations. I would be lost if it were a philosophical discourse. Insults and threats? I can follow. We were so disappointed after missing you last time, but here you have returned whole and hale. My friends and I could not be more pleased, the woman gloats. She certainly likes the sound of her own voice. I have difficulties assessing her strength. Her aura inexplicably tastes of torn skin and porcelain, while the pungent odor of sun-baked blood comes from the man, and the tall woman bears the scent of a hand gripping a family portrait. Humans feel so drab by comparison. "Oh Tessa, a pleasure as always," Sinead replies in the uncaring voice of a bored socialite. "Out of curiosity, how much will you be compensated to look after my well-being? I find myself curious." The wandering prince is curious. "How unexpected," the woman mocks, and the barkman chuckles in a voice that sounds hollow. Only the tall woman glares at us with increasing panic. "One protection favor and 100 bright tokens," the woman says with a shrug. "Pretty disappointing considering you are technically royalty. Why, I would almost be inclined to negotiate since it appears you have something to bargain for." She stares at me and discomfort crawls up my spine. It does not take much study of Lycian society to guess that they would have their slavers as well. I turn instinctively to Sinead, but not because I do not trust him not to betray me. It is because his aura is flaring spectacularly. It starts like an amber, then explodes outward like an alcohol-fed fire in a great, incandescent plume. His hair sticks to his scalp under the pressure of an unseen hurricane. Heat radiates from him in great waves, so intense that I take a step back. So intense that the unchanging grass under his feet wilts. I am certain that he is still weakened, and yet the power on display is absolutely monstrous. Sinead is angry. And for the first time in a century, he has the physical means of his ambition. He grips the branch between reddening knuckles. "It appears you and my brother need a reminder. No matter who my mother is, I am still Prince of Summer, and summer, my dear, is the season of war." Sinead hurls himself at the assassin with lord-like speed. He uses the branch as a sword, casually slapping her hand away from the sheath of her rapier. His next strike pierces her thigh, drawing blood despite the lack of sharpness. With a dreadful snap, the woman is sent tumbling away. She screams in agony. The rest of us are too awestruck to react. I would have reacted to anyone else, but this is Sinead. How did the smarmy dilettante turn into a ferocious warrior? Have I missed something? "Do you need an invitation?" Sinead asks me. "Oh, right. The assassins." I rush at the barkman, who is already casting something. The yellow stone in his armor gain in radiance, and I panic for an instant before realizing that it is not sunly. Blind. HSSSS. Instincts and practice take over. Octave trained me well. When blinded, attack. Swing where the enemy will be. Strike wide and disrupt, rather than retreat. Rose materializes and bites deep into. Oh my! Oh my! Delicious. I can taste, I can smell. His aura is just there. Blood flows, so much of it. A waste. Quick. I jump and bite down, drinking the vitality before the blood-soaked meadow can drink more of my prize. He has lazy violence and overlong hunts, the blood of the victim congealed by the time he delivers the coup de grace. Perfect. Someone interrupts the feeding. Thorny brambles snare at my feet and climb up my chest, but the aurora's power cannot be denied and they freeze, the concept of cold shattering them even in the pleasant heat of spring. This is pathetic. Risible. You call these thorns? My consciousness expands in a sphere. One is fire, not prey, punishing in idiotic contrasts. Annoying, but not a foe. The other thinks she can hold me down with little twigs. A tendril grabs her around the waist, pulls her to me. She is slow. No, please. I only. Your world is so rich. She tastes of a ship dragged by a sudden tide, with a zesty note. I love it here. The fire bloom throws a twitching body in my direction. She smells scrumptious. I am not even thirsty at all. In fact, I feel fantastic. What do you wish for, supplicant? I ask. As is proper. Forgiveness. The fire bloom replies. Forgiveness. Oh. I pull the roots in, letting my essence return to its human limits. The thorns burrow. They leave the grass undisturbed. It appears that my magna arca can be counted on here. I look up but do not perceive the familiar presence of the watcher. I refuse. Take her anyway. No need to let her essence go to waste, Sinead offers. Wait. Wait. The blooded woman retorts. She looks like her world is crumbling around her. I know things. I can help. Sinead grips her neck with more strength than purely necessary. His jaw is set in a rare expression of hatred. I know you can be useful, but there are plenty of useful people out there and only a few I genuinely hate. Goodbye, Otessa. I drink her dry. I take my time now that the fight is over. She tastes of a powerful drive coupled with a terrible lack of foresight. Once I am done, I feel as if I were floating. I have consumed so much powerful essence that I feel full, even a little tipsy despite the purity of Lycian vitality. My inebriation dulls the pain of the betrayal I still feel, pushing it into the background. I gaze at the world around me with renewed interest. The turf we damaged with our fire and ice already recovered its lustrous green, like water flowing back into a puddle. The earth has swallowed the blood we spilled. Sinead sits a distance away, eating glazed mushrooms and meat skewers he recovered from the dead. The rest of their interesting belongings wait in a pile by his side. I notice he took the time to lay a cover on the ground to protect his butt before plopping down to eat, turning the slaughter into an impromptu picnic. As I approach, he swallows and hails me. I told you we didn't need to worry too much. Why did you flee them before? You could have handled all three, I remark. 2 reasons. First, I was not that strong. Liberating all those Fae has increased my pull on the spheres. Second, if you get rid of a group of assassins but not their client, your reward is a more expensive group of assassins. I see. Here, take this. He throws 2 pouches at me. In them I find cubes and crystals of different colors. I pull one that looks like a miniature pillow made of amber. It is slightly warm to the touch. Court tokens. You can swallow them for power or sustenance, or to fuel a spell. They are useful for bargaining, but keep in mind that nothing truly worthwhile can be bought with money around here. Hence why we need the fruits. Correct. If there are any dark blue, cold tokens, they can help you to cast winter spells. I do not find any. Our would-be killers were not flush, apparently. If you are ready, we can depart. I will keep the rapier if you do not mind. The rest is up for grabs. A Sedina awaits. There is little we can recover. The wreath of the woman hosts some enchantments, but just grabbing it would destroy it. The man's spear is trash designed to inflict suffering rather than killing. In the end, I only keep the pouches. We leave the battlefield behind and walk on directly towards the world tree. The woods around us grow less dense until we meet our first orchards. Strange houses that feel more grown than built pepper the ground, their walls dark wood-shaped to be flat, or at least flattish. The roofs are made of bark instead of tiles, and the chimneys look like hollowed-out trunks. All of them lean as if tired and, as I watch, an eye opens next to a windowsill. It inspects me lazily before closing again. A cat watches us pass with 12 slitted pupils arranged in a cluster. It still meows. Eventually, we come across a stone road leading towards the base of the giant, and I spot complex wood structures in the distance. The houses grow more common, and we come across our first inhabitants entertaining themselves under the shade of a willow. More specifically, I spot firm buttocks grabbed by 2 feminine hands. Another man pops out from behind the first one's back, thrusting into hips unseen. The trio has hair and skin in earthy tones, or what I can see anyway, as the sole woman appears to have her hands full, so to speak. The only man facing us smiles. He is quite handsome, with elfin traits and a squarish jaw. Welcome to Sedina, travelers. Enjoy the embrace of the eldest. Sinead thanks him while I avert my eyes. I do not consider myself too conservative, but surely. Is this normal? I finally ask the prince. Oh, I forgot to warn you. The spring court is the most promiscuous one. Today might also be the Day of Seeds, which occurs every 5th one. The Day of Seeds? I ask, afraid of the answer. Sinead merely points forward to a square we are approaching. Oh dear. Chapter 180. It takes us the better part of a day to cross the outskirts of Sedina. Although Sinead said the tree was only an hour away, he was referring to the outer shade of its nearest canopy, of which there are countless, and under whose protective shade the Fae of the Court of Spring conduct their business. As far as I can see, it mostly involves fucking. The Day of Seeds spills like a drunk post-luncheon stroll upon the uneven streets. Fae nobles in human form and other, more exotic creatures with the appearance of dog-men, or grotesque puppets, and even, in one instance, a working plant, mingle with glasses held in various appendages. Sinead weaves smoothly between groups busying themselves reciting poetry or doing each other. We walk along the garland-covered walls and dodge bottles and naked, brown limbs grabbing at us. The scent of alcohol and sex is overwhelming, the vitality so powerful I would have fallen upon them if I were not so full. The Prince of Summer guides us to a throne nestled under a monumental trunk. From there, a very pregnant Fae rules over her subjects with a shy, benevolent gaze. She blushes delicately when Sinead pays his respects, and her answer is buried under 2 hands held in embarrassment. We are directed onward by her laughing handmaidens as another recovers her fur-leaf crown, which had fallen during the encounter. The Queen of the Day of Seeds is elected by the will of Sedina's people, Sinead explains. This one must have been quite surprised. What language do they speak? I ask, pointing at dog people bartering for pine cones with a dowyard like Ian. The main dialect of this sphere. There will be many languages spoken around here, but you only really need ours, even if it is the child version. The words carry their own meanings. You also look like one of us at first glance. Nobles almost always share humanoid traits, so speaking with our tongue will promote your social standing. Should I learn adult like Ian then? Of course. As soon as you have conquered your home plane and joined it to our merry band, I will be delighted to teach you. I think 50 years will be enough for a passing mastery. A simple no would have sufficed, I grumble. As we move on, the living houses give way to what I can only define as apartment buildings, troglodyte dwellings carved from the titanic roots emerging from the rich earth. I approach one to get a closer look and spook a bird, which proceeds to fly through the nearest wall in a flash of smoke. There are no traces of tools on the sill. Instead, the wood has been convinced to grow around a circular hole where some local placed a window. Tree singers built this. They are the best crafters around here, Sinead explains without prompt. Although, this specific work is lacking. Functional, at best. You should see what they can come up with when sufficiently motivated. It is just such a shame that they tend to tie up their partners when they find one. Last time I had to use a fire knife to free myself. Where did you hide it? I ask. In a dream. Why? What did you have in mind? The shameless cur asks with a perfectly straight face. I should not engage with him. It makes me remember our complicity, then the memory peels off the scab of my betrayal. We should move on, I reply, when suddenly something catches my eye. We are following a path up, currently devoid of people. Roots extend up on either side of us, showing brown bark except for a single flower sitting incongruously between two doors. Indigo petals as long as my arm extend from a pistil the color of gold, and from its spherical body radiates a soothing light that captivates my attention. A flutter, and the petals unfold. A delicate perfume comes to titillate my nose. It smells like blood and, inexplicably, coffee. I tilt my head. What a curious thing. What might it be? Bait. A piece of advice, my young and impressionable friend. If you happen upon an isolated stretch of land and find there an abandoned treasure of great interest, seemingly made for you, then it is a trap, I finish, dejected. I give one last glare to the offending piece of vegetation. It fails to wilt. Sinead and I move on soon after. The closer we get to the trunk and the more vertical the city becomes. Haughty lords with their spear-wielding retinue ignore us, clad in bark plate and leaf scale on their way to parts unknown. Their scent remains after their passage and makes me close my fists, glad that I could feed before coming. The emerald sky is progressively dim as we circle the monumental trunk, following a path that climbs offshoots and crosses chasms between two twigs. Sometimes, we come across marketplaces selling wares, favors, sometimes even people. No one pays us more attention than they do to other nobles, although I sometimes smell a delicious hint of fear from their guards. Night is falling when my guide stops before a mushroom as tall as a train station's main hall. He knocks on a large gate that opens with a noise of shifting roots. Acrid, bluish smoke assaults my eyes. We walk into an antechamber midway between a reception desk and a museum of morbid curiosities. Shelves cover the white walls, occupying every inch of free space. They bear items as varied as can be. I turn and inspect the closest one. Each alcove bears a different treasure. I see a red ball made from an unknown material. A slab of steel covered in golden filigree. A long, green crystal that resembles the horn of a herald I removed from its body. An ancient book, cracked with age. A small, dry head with bulging eyes opens its mouth in silent agony. A flower. An ingot made of unknown metal bearing the mark of its maker. As the outside light briefly touches it, the surface bubbles like boiling pitch. A person huffs from behind the counter. His traits are a perfect blend of man and goat down to the pointy white beard and horizontal pupils. An impeccably ironed shirt covers his hairy chest. He breathes into spectacles and places the pair on his nose. "She is expecting you," the man bleats softly. Sinead walks forward with resolute steps while I sustain the unerring gaze of the receptionist. My charm finds no purchase here and I do not try to force it. The Prince of Summer lifts a curtain and leads us deeper into the mushroom, past scented candles and cluttered corridors. Finally, a ray of light from a side door announces our destination. We walk into an intimate boudoir, with low walls made of the bark of the tree itself. A brazier gives the place a warm and comfortable mood. My armor-covered feet sink into the lush carpet, the cold air momentarily subdued. From atop a puff, a curious woman inspects us with amusement. Long black hair falls freely from her head, melding with a multicolored robe she wears loosely upon one shoulder. The other is naked, and her cleavage reveals much of a small breast. She does not appear to care. Shockingly yellow snake eyes peer at us from under heavy bangs, full of mirth. Her sensual lips blow smoke from a long, heavily decorated pipe. It turns into a cloudy dragon and flies away. The scent of cinnamon and clove remains. Amaril's child. Welcome. We thought you lost, she says in adult-like Ian. Her voice is low and purring. I was. And you brought back many fallen children and one not quite lost as well. Welcome, morsel. Thank you, I reply curtly. And she speaks like one of us too. We are glad. What do you wish for, child of Amaril? We do not know where your mother is right now. I am not looking for her. I want passage to Voidmore. The declaration must have come as quite a surprise, because our host blinks exactly once, then after a few seconds, her lips part into the tiniest smile. Ambitious. Or foolish? The line blurs, sometimes. Another puff turns into a small fish, then another into a shark that eats it. We expect payment. Sinead removes his plundered backpack and reveals the juicy fruits he picked earlier. The woman smiles again. Oh little one, you know us too well. Call us by the name we like, and you will have yourself a deal. Yes, Aunt Carnacial. This pleases us. Will you consider staying for dinner? I apologize, my aunt. Time is of the essence right now. So it is. Sit down then. We do so. A pillow seemingly rises from the sea of fabric to accommodate the eternal ice of my tasses. It is your first passage, yes? Morsel. The woman enunciates in childlike Ian. Her eyes almost draw me in, and for an instant, I fight off her influence. Andy, Sinead curtly interrupts. My apologies. Force of habit. It is indeed my first passage. I agree to get this strange interaction over with. Then relax and let yourself be carried across the weave. It is unusual, but we know what needs doing and will send you on your way. What? Now? I cannot help but ask. Sinead coughs slightly, then explains. The portals of this plane are within the tree, making them excessively difficult to reach outside of special times. This is the fastest and safest way to travel. We will hallucinate our way out of this sphere. The woman calmly explains. We what? I ask. She smiles and reaches for a fold, removing a tiny, dry plant she places into her lit and quite hot pipe. A strange scent emerges from it. I am not sure it will work, I inform them. In answer, the woman blows smoke in my face. The smell grows more powerful, and I believe I can see strange, tiny butterflies floating at the edge of my vision. Intoxicants of no effect or wow wow woo. I am floating. I am floating under the massive eye of Carnacial, her form growing to massive proportions. Her robe is now a billowing gown trailing after her, its scent vaporous as it merges with the night sky. We fly. We leave the house behind. We leave Messina behind. The people are like ants crawling over the face of a giant, their long lives still blinks for an existence beyond time. Wars and reigns matter little, though fugacious moments inexplicably do. Farther, familiar flowers lure a young dogman in. The simple creature smells its tantalizing nectar, it bends forward. The petals snap around their neck. A creature swims from behind a fold of reality, pulling the flower back from the end of its stem. It grabs its prey with long, transparent fangs. A massive eye turns over an angular body. We are seen. Farther, church-sized dandelion seeds glide over unseen currents while tendrils from its discs lazily grab passing sprites. Their luminous bodies blink out and the other sprites disperse. Farther, the tree is one and it is all, moving close to a small white star. The star is incredibly hot, but the tree is well prepared. It does not need a sphere of mud like its lesser cousins, for it moves inward as well as horizontally, and vertically, and in depth, and across time, and across thoughts as well. Farther, the tree is eternal. Farther, the tree is not eternal, it is still a living thing in a fragment of the universe, only eternal relative to small organisms and not other, also eternal things. There are degrees of eternity. The tree knows one of them. The void, too. Farther, I wake up to cold, wet stone under my head, which hurts. Hello. A turtle man dressed in rags greets. Oh. Not so loud. Sorry. Hello. I look around. I lay on a paved square surrounded by gray, water-stained walls topped by high-peaked roofs. Low clouds hang overhead. A statue stands in the middle of it. It shows a grotesquely obese man kneeling mid-declaration, a flower held between two sausage fingers. The artist perfectly captured the extreme agony, the desperate struggle of his lower buttons. A few cheap styles complete the impression of a bad London district I got from some of the books I favor. One sells clocks and the other, some leak like vegetables. Would you like a sneeze? The turtle man whispers. Sinead brushes himself off and I stand, imitating him. We appear to be both intact. He still has his bag, rapier, and waypoint tree branch. I would have expected us to be robbed by now, but the small, insulated pocket near my armored back still holds my money purse. Pardon? I asked the person. Would you like a sneeze? He asks, brandishing an ethereal feather. Freshly harvested from the Dust Cleaner Guild. Only one summer token for 5. Really cheap. I haven't sneezed in almost 80 years, I idly remark. Then treat yourself. I would prefer if we settled down first before going shopping. For safety's sake, Sinead interrupts. Besides, your unique constitution may prevent his goods from working. I have extra strength ones. Mustard flavor. 1 token for 2, 3 because the lady is cute. Let's go, Sinead interrupts. He seems worried. Perhaps another time, I tell the turtleman with a placating smile. Have a nice day. He calls after us. We leave the square from a narrow street. Sinead appears to know where we are going, and I follow him without a word. Poorly dressed fae pass us by, scurrying in the gutters and casting worried glances our way. They seem much more diverse than the spring court species, with many sharing animal features or strange, exaggerated traits like bulbous noses or long teeth. Everyone gives us a large berth. I should show you the edge, at least. We are very close. Very close apparently implies a half-an-hour fast walk through winding paths. We come across a theater room advertising creative public executions, 3 marketplaces, a large square where 2 bands of street thugs are battling it out with merciless fury, they split and let us through when they see us, and a large greenhouse. Finally, the houses grow taller and fancier. Guards with pet bull faces or geometrically square jaws start to line street corners, hands contracted over large truncheons. They, too, let us pass with fear clear in their hunched shoulders. I find their terror appealing, but refrain from indulging for now. Finally, we end up on a broad road lined on one side by fancy houses with small gardens. The other side has a single barrier of what appears to be wrought copper. On the other side of it is the void. I approach, unable to resist the pull of curiosity. I lean over the banister. I see stone beneath us, some passages. A tunnel spills waste water into the air. It dissolves into rainbow colors. Above us, there are clouds. In front of us is the void. Pure, black nothing as deep as the abyss. I stare at it for a while because I have never seen anything so dark since I was turned. It quite simply fascinates me. Wind blows. Where does the light even come from? I admit that this is quite the sight, I tell Sinead. My anger is almost gone by this point, although I shall never forgive him for this treachery, even if he brings me the most amazing sights. The cur smiles sadly again and points upward. I follow the direction and see a ship hanging in mid-air. By the watcher. By the Watcher, is it what I think it is? An oblong balloon holds a ship body aloft as it flies through the ether, propelled by horizontal sails and what seems to be some sort of crystal. The crew moves with energy around its sturdy body. A four-armed crewman busies himself cleaning the hull. "Welcome to Void Moor," Sinead says. "What happens to those who fall?" I ask as we make our way inland. "They line the Skylark Guild's pockets. Unless they are considered to be especially obnoxious, then they feed the void. We are not quite sure what happens to them, but Void Moor keeps growing, so who knows? The city is built on an inverted pyramid of rock. It somehow grows much faster than its population despite the tendency of lost ones to end up swallowed in its labyrinthine streets." He tilts his head, considering. "Sometimes literally. In any case, we shall find refuge in a certain pension, then I will start the challenge process. Thankfully, the Court of Summer has an embassy here. I will enjoy access to quite a few nobles without the inconvenience of Reva's breathing down my neck. You will be safe while I organize everything." "Kindly elaborate. What does the challenge entail?" Sinead looks with interest as a dozen thugs come out of nearby alleys, smirks adorning their ugly mugs. They take a single look at us and flee. Truly, the Lycian survival instinct vastly outperforms the human one. The King of Summer has ruled since time immemorial. Few expect him to relinquish his throne within the next couple of centuries, at the very least. Nevertheless, intrigue must occur. The people grow weak, or worse, bored. His Majesty has many children. The most devious, powerful, successful, and wise gather in the Council of 81. Its members have some say in the conduct of the kingdom and its wars. They are given land and soldiers, so there are real benefits to it that no one would scoff at. Reva's is number 56 and one of its, shall we say, order keepers. I am going to replace him through a ritual challenge. I assume those are not easy. No. Sadly, we are missing one key element of every successful venture: competent allies within the court. The favor we have accrued should offset this, but it will not be easy. The challenge will consist of 3 different ordeals. He who wins 2 will be victorious. Due to time constraints, the dragon hunt will be the second one. I see. The first one will occur here if I can manage it. It should give us time to prepare. I will travel to the embassy first thing in the, morning, or what passes for it in Void Moor, while you familiarize yourself with the surroundings. He looks at me, then licks his lips in hesitation. His fiery hair flutters in a wilder fashion. I understand that after what I have done, you would see my words with doubt, and I do know that you are a resourceful and careful woman, but I would kindly request that you exert extreme caution while visiting Void Moor. Contracts and such often carry traps, as do promises, though you are familiar with the concept. What others will mostly fail to obtain by force, they will attempt to steal through guile. Do not underestimate them, Ariane dear. They have been at this game for far longer than you and I. Void Moor is, this place has a propensity to make people disappear, sometimes. I beg you. Be careful. I have no death wish, I remind him. Quite so, puppet. Ah, we are here. He turns before I can finish my bristling to tell him he can shove his nicknames where the Watcher cannot see, but my retort dies in my throat. We stand in front of an orchard, a forested vale somehow nestled in the heart of the city. Yellow crystal atop metal posts provides a warm, soft light that sets my teeth on edge. Ruby fruits hang heavy from the nearest branches. As we get closer, I see more trees loaded with a bountiful harvest. Large dogs patrol the ground and, as I look, one samples the air with the flick of a forked tongue. Sinead resolutely takes the winding path heading deeper. So long as we remain on the stones, the hounds leave us alone, though a particularly large specimen growls when our eyes meet. Please do not kill the creature, Ariane dearest, or our would-be host will refuse us his roof. I shrug. I do not necessarily kill aggressive wildlife. He should see all those werewolves prospering on my land. I even consider some of them as good, Well, talkative pets. Unaware of my grumblings, Sinead moves on until we find an isolated cottage at the heart of the orchard. Candles and lanterns hang from every sill, bathing it in a warm glow. While many of the houses outside look damaged because they are derelicts, this one looks well lived in, with squat walls propped comfortably on the loam and leaning a bit like an old bottom-heavy chef reading a book of recipes. We knock on the door and hear a lupin growl. The door opens. A powerful cloud of canine scent aggresses me, forcing me to hiss. I meet a pair of moon-touched eyes, but force myself to stop before I can show further signs of aggression. I still take a step back to protect my nose. We face a gentleman with graying hair in a tweed and velvet ensemble, a comfortable bonnet sitting on his face. He also has a wolf head but not a real one, more like what illustrators would have come up with trying to draw the Little Red Riding Hood. It explains the smell. Yes? Oh, a prince of summer. Wait, you are Emerald's child. Sinead, was it? Correct, my companion replies. He bows graciously, though he does not quite lower his gaze. Greetings to you, old Marrow. We wish to ask for your hospitality for 2 times 7-day cycles. You will be doing politics, the wolfman grumbles with surprisingly clean enunciation. Yes. I do not like politics. I have brought something that might compensate you for the displeasure, Sinead coldly replies, though I see a slight bend in the way his lips move that tells me he expects success. The prince casually shows the branch he obtained from the waypoint tree back in the previous sphere. Old Marrow inspects the stick with obvious doubt for a few seconds, but then his eyes widen comically. He grasps for it with very, very hairy hands. They pick the innocuous piece of wood with the reverence normally reserved for chalices and other sacred things. A callous finger caresses the thin bark. A sapling. You brought me a sapling. It wants earth, can you hear it? Such an energetic little thing. Old Marrow blinks, suddenly remembering that we are here. His gaze lingers on me for a bit longer than I am comfortable with, but in the end he shrugs. Yes, yes indeed. Lodgings. That is quite fine. Will you be going to the embassy? Quite often. I have a nephew there, if you wish to employ a messenger. Yes. Such a beautiful young thing. She will love it, when it has grown. Emerald. Come child, let me give you access. Old Marrow huddles back into his cottage and returns with 2 intricate keys. He points to the side, where the winding path continues towards a small, isolated square with large houses. Take the center one. There's food in the pantry and you will be safe. You can stay for a while, young Sinead. It was thoughtful of you to grant me this boon. Now where shall I place you, you little hellion? We leave the wolfman rummaging through a wheelbarrow and reach the square in short order. The keys let us in, and I feel powerful enchantments settle around us as we move in. We enter a corridor with blue walls and dark wood furniture. It smells like embers and old books here. I follow Sinead through a receiving room in which a fire crackles merrily. There is tea on the table. We explore, finding a kitchen and a pair of bedrooms on the upper floor. I pick the larger one because I want to annoy Sinead. For the first time in a while, I can finally get out of my armor. I leave it in a storage room before it can freeze off the carpet, but I hit a snag. I do not have a change of clothes. Fortunately, I was not wounded and so the gambeson and pants I wear under the plant remain white and pristine. I use the attending bathroom to wash myself before returning to the receiving room for a little tea. It tastes minty and delicious. This place is idly comfortable. I shall rest my eyes just a little bit. I slept, or slumbered, I am not quite sure. The light outside the narrow windows is brighter than before. Birds tweet in the distance, their cries strange and exotic. A glance shows that the cloud cover has retreated up and the light they offer is wider than before, though it cannot be called bright, or can it? Did I really sleep, or was it a normal slumber? And why did I wake up in what appears to be the morning? It makes no sense. This place upsets all the rules by which we function on Earth. I am not the most dangerous species here. I do not fall at dawn, and the light of the day does not burn me. I could ignore it during our foray into the dead world because the portal to Earth was constantly open, but here I cannot. I am trapped with new rules and a culture I have little understanding of. Suddenly annoyed, I stand up to see someone place a cover on me. It has to be Sinead. The cur saw me sleep and I did not even react. Ugh. He left me a letter on the coffee table. I open it and read. My dear Rianne. I must away to the embassy. As you know, time is of the essence, and I must move things forward for our sakes. I must apologize again for being a poor host on top of the rest of my many offenses, as I will be unable to show you the wonders of our worlds. I had planned on explaining the opportunities and dangers of this place yesterday, but sadly you were asleep. I beg you to spend the day here and wait for my return, perhaps get accustomed to our lodgings and the gardens outside. Voidmoor is dangerous, more so than you would believe at first sight. Please be careful, and no matter what you do, do not travel underground. Yours sincerely, Sinead. Blah blah blah, verbose, dishonest, faithless, manipulative handsome devil. Wait for me home, hen, I'll take good care of you. As if. I grumble and forage the pantry for something to drink. The teapot contains steaming water as if freshly boiled, and I use it to make an infusion, then notice the pillows are all spread haphazardly, so I fix that, and reorganize our belongings, move some of the furniture back where they obviously had to be. Frankly, did nobody notice they were in the way? And then I find a small library and read about the early colonization of Voidmoor and how it had a village but no inhabitants. One of the images turns into a floating painting with a little essence, and I realize it used to be much smaller. Curious. Apparently, Voidmoor has a portal to quite a few spheres and an actual port as well, where floating ships come to roost. I have to see it. I want to see it. Alright, I am going. But first, I need a dress. I cannot possibly move around in form-fitting gambeson, or I will be made fun of and will have to kill people. Ugh. Maybe I can find a spare ya? Ah. Bonjour bonjour. A fluttering form says as it flies before me. The use of French stops me from shredding at mid-flight and I watch, mesmerized, as the form is soon joined by similar creatures. They are humanoid, as large as a forearm, and quite naked, but strange dragonfly wings emerge from their shoulder blades and long filaments from their head and spine. Both wings and hair seem made from the same white thread with a multitude of feather-like extremities. Those filaments are as long as they are and float behind them as if they were immersed in liquid. The French-speaking one floats gently in front of my face until I recognize familiar traits around the dark pits of his eyes. Magus? This place was supposed to be locked. How? Oh, of course. Court of Wings and Keyholes, darling E. Darling, darling. Yes, yes, listen to us. At least 24 of the creatures stop flying around and join up in a fluffy cloud. Their wings and hair puff out around them in spheres, shaking and bobbing. We have a proposal, Magus announces. 'Tis a good one too. A tiny woman adds excitedly. A bloody good one, he-ha-he-ha? A third one exclaims. They all snicker. The drone grates my ears. All right, let me hear it. Feed sighs. Yes, yes, yes. Soft and squishy. No. Magus interrupts, and his vitreous humor-thirsty companions shut up. Everything in order. First, we will guide you to the arena. Many fights. They will never expect you. We bet on you. We win big. You find us the right opponent and kill him. We eat his eyes, you get all the money minus our buy-in. We will like you even more. The girl says. We will help for sure. You were funny, and not completely there. So strange. Are you a new court? A younger one asks. Hush. What do you think? Magus asks. It sounds like a plan that will get me killed. You are very strong, Dever. Not the strongest by any stretch, but this is the arena. Royals don't come to duel it out here. 'Tis a place for mangy prospects, with squishy eyes, fat and juicy. Besides, we help from the shadows, make sure the fights are fair. For you, we mean. It is never fair to face one of you predators, making us concludes with a vicious sneer. You will give us the eyes and we will make you rich, richer than you could ever hope to become alone. Tokens can buy favors or at least grease a few palms, and would you not prefer to purchase a few souvenirs? What is tourism without bragging trinkets? And that will not kill me? I asked with suspicion. In answer, Macius places 2 fingers upon his heart and takes a solemn countenance. Upon my life I swear that we want you healthy, happy, free, and rich. We just want you to kill someone specific for us. You will get blood and money for it. And we get the eyes. Well, I don't know, maybe. I need to buy a dress first, I half-heartedly object. Oh. We have disguises for you. And good ones too. You can buy 1,000 dresses with the rewards. Or a single very good one. Oh, and it will really annoy Sinead. He will be sick with worries. All right, I will help. Toad continued,